This is my presentation. Uh, so, uh, I'm Liis. It's awfully making noise. And I want to discuss top Google Ads problems and mistakes that we have seen that marketers have. So as an agency, we do see a lot of accounts, and it has given us kind of an overview of the key things that people are struggling with. And when I agreed to do this presentation, I really wanted to tell you guys literally everything I know about Google Ads. But soon enough, I realized, or well, not too soon enough, 2 nights ago, we realized that it is just not possible to put 2.5 years of intense learning and knowledge and experience in an under 2 hour presentation. So, because you're all experienced Google Ads users, that's why you were chosen to be able to attend. We're going to cut out all the introductory talk, general talk, and just talk about the specific problems. And because the presentation is structured uh, according to the problems that we're going to be talking about, if you have any questions, if you do not understand something I'm saying, pop your hand up and ask that question straight away at the end of each kind of problems discussion. Because by the end of the presentation, you just probably won't remember it, and it's easier to discuss and explain straight away. If your question needs too long of an answer, I'll tell you that. Let's speak in the coffee break. But anyway, want to keep the conversation going, because ultimately I want you to get maximum value from this presentation and actually be able to tackle these problems on your own after today. So we have the clicker. Let's see if this is working. Yes. So this little dot is what we're going to be talking about today. This is what we as a team think we know about Google Ads. And this, reaching to the size of the screen and way beyond all the way to the cafe area, is what there is actually to know about Google Ads, its processes and algorithms. Some of these things we will never know, but we're working towards expanding our boxes as much as possible. So, not wasting any time, first problem that is kind of the fundamental problem of many other problems that you might be having is not knowing your customer in the first place. So, is everyone really your customer? Heard it so much. Recently went to speak at a startup lecture at a university where students had to come up with startups, and pretty much I think 80% of the teams, when I asked them who's your client, they said everyone. Well, just think about this question a little bit if this has been your answer as well in the past. So for example, if you're a time tracking software for companies, specializing in time tracking for businesses, and if you add the keyword time tracking software in your account, and maybe also apply smart bidding on top of that, this might mean a rocky start for you. So, because most of the people who are searching on Google search time tracking software are probably private individuals who just want personal time tracking. They are not companies ready to subscribe to your paid plan. So, what you might consider to tackle this type of an issue is different exclusions. So basically assisting smart bidding by giving it more data about the people that are definitely not suitable for you. So smart bidding probably would eventually learn this, but it just takes longer if you don't give it this obvious information straight away. So, for example, here we can see the possible audiences that you can either target or exclude. And let's quickly go through them. Some of them are really exciting. So, detailed demographics, who these people are. There's home ownership status, marital status, education level, and parental status. And it seems like raising a child involves a lot of Googling and internet research because Google has very precise data about how old children you have. And based on this, you can either target or exclude people. Might be relevant for some businesses. Then we have affinity audiences, which capture people based on their long-term interests and habits they have. So there's like really straightforward ones like fitness buffs and dog lovers, but there are also things like cloud services power users and high-end computer aficionados and home automation enthusiasts and so many more. This is just 3 examples out of, I believe there's like hundreds. So go browse through the list, see if there's something relevant for you to either target or exclude. And you can also actually create custom ones with keywords that you input yourself. So if you haven't tried that, have a quick look through Google's Google support materials describing it. Then we also have in-market audiences, capturing people that are currently actively researching something that they are wanting to buy. So people in a short term in the market for something. And here as well, some really, really interesting options under. We have business services, there's advertising and marketing services, and you can even go more precise with that, trying to capture people who are looking for SEO and search engine marketing services. So really relevant for us, for example. And there's loads more as well, so worth checking out. Then we also have live events, which is rather new. It's not like super new, it's been there for a while, but there's new live events being added constantly. So what we have here is the option of capturing people based on key moments in their life. So business creation might be relevant for several softwares that are assisting businesses in this starting up phase. College graduation, changing a job, getting married, moving, purchasing a home, or retiring. And we also have, of course, remarketing audiences and customer lists which you need to upload to give Google data about your existing users. And one thing to think about is that from the get-go might sound a bit counterintuitive, is in some cases it actually makes sense to exclude people that have already purchased from you for certain products or services. So in this sense, if for example, you have a subscription product or service that is purchased once, is there really an option to show your ads and pay for clicks from people who are already your customers? Just something to think about. So that thing covered. I didn't see too many baffled faces in the audience. No one waiting to raise their hand. So I'm thinking we can go on with the next one. Next issue. Also get it a lot. We have lots of traffic, but very little or no conversions at all. So there could be very many different scenarios causing this. But let's go a few of the main ones that we have seen. First off, can your conversion tracking be broken? You maybe have these conversions happening, you're just not tracking them and you're not seeing them in Google Analytics or Google Ads. So you could have some double tracking happening, you could have your analytics code missing from certain pages. So many options. You need to talk to Taavi. He's the guy doing that. I won't go into too much detail today because we're focusing on Google Ads, but it is important enough to mention because having the right data, as Audrey also said, is really, really important. You need to feed as valuable data to Google as possible. So just think and see. If you have suspicions, there's also a really good troubleshooting article on our blog by Taavi. So you could start from that to check out a few main issues as well. Then G Sleet parameter, Google Click Identifier parameter. This is the long sequence of numbers I don't know if there's letters as well. I haven't, yeah, there is, people nodding. Haven't really looked at G Suite parameters too closely lately. It's the parameter that's appended to your ad's final URLs so that you could associate all the activities that are being done on your website to a specific ad click. If you don't have this parameter after you click on your own ad, then there's no information about what happens after the ad click. Well, there is, it's just not associated with the specific ad. So again, not too much details. Talk to your developers. Make sure that no tracking parameters are being stripped during redirects. So for example, HTTP to HTTPS, www.yourdomain, and the redirect happening to without the 3 Ws. So just Google it, really easy, a few tests you can do. What you can do now, or tonight after the presentation is over, or tomorrow, is check that you have auto tagging enabled in Google Ads. So this means that Google Ads will automatically add these Google Click IDs at the end of your URLs. And if that is done, then you can see if any of the redirects are messing up some data. Okay, next thing, not so much technical anymore, more strategic. Why you might not be getting any conversions. Are you even targeting people, correct people? We talked about the audiences, targeting and exclusions already. So thinking about that, can there be some improvements made there? And secondly, could your ad texts be misleading? So it can often be the case that you write a really compelling ad copy to get as much people to click on it, but a lot of those clicks are actually irrelevant. So it would really benefit you to already communicate way in advance as exactly as possible what you are offering, so that there's no disappointment happening when a person clicks on your ad, they land on your page, and then they see something different there. So again, let's use the time tracking software for companies example. In their case, I would definitely already include the fact that we are only specializing on companies in our ad copy, so that these private individuals, normal people just wanting to improve their time use efficiency, they wouldn't even click on our ad because they see straight away that it's for businesses. So what we want to do is not maximize traffic. We want to maximize relevant traffic and also conversions, converting traffic. So maximizing traffic, not always really even necessary or ideal, because you pay for every click that you get to your website. And also, is it possible that people are doing cross-device research? If you are using Google Analytics tracking, then you won't be able to see information about cross-device activity. So very normal scenario. Again, I'm commuting to work in the morning. I have 10-15 minutes on the tram. I'm researching stuff on my mobile. But later, when I actually decide to purchase something, I do it on my desktop. I just feel more comfortable, better view, have all my stuff more available, and I'm not in the rush to rush off the tram. So in this case, in Google Analytics, you are not seeing the ad click on mobile being associated with a conversion happening on desktop. But there's a solution. You can use Google Ads conversion tracking, because Google Ads conversion tracking is able to connect these buyer journeys, research journeys, across different devices as well. So if you have a lot of cross-device activity happening, you're suspecting it, it's worth trying Google Ads conversion tracking. So what do we have here? Here's an example from an account that is using Google Ads conversion tracking. There's different cross-device reports. This one just shows us that from ad clicks on mobile, 256 conversions happened after there was a click from a different mobile before. So cross-device could also mean across one mobile, and another mobile. So people have personal phones and work phones, personal desktops and work desktops. And we also see that people who clicked on a mobile, this led to 99 conversions on a desktop and 3 conversions on a tablet. So unless you are using Google Ads conversion tracking, you are not seeing any of these conversions in analytics being associated to an ad click that happened on a different device. So something to consider. And there's other really cool reports as well about cross-device activity. This is just one example. I believe there's 3 main ones in Google Ads. And ultimately, we do need to accept the fact that no bidding, manual or smart, can make miracles happen if you have either a poor landing page or if your product is just not competitive, which Audrey's also talked about a little bit. So smart bidding is smart. We can also make smart decisions, but if the product is just not compelling to a user, why would they convert anyway? So moving on. Another, well, let's say problem at first. I am seeing different numbers in Google Analytics versus Google Ads. So conversion numbers, for example. This is actually not a problem. This is how it's supposed to be. And let's explain what and why and how as well. So if we have this example, first chance to win a prize. So get ready to talk. On the same device, let's say we have an ad click that happens on October 28th. Let's say I did this. I clicked on an ad on October 28th. Then I forgot about it for a bit, maybe thought about it, looked at some competitors, did some research, and then on my mobile on November 2nd, I finally completed the, let's say, purchase. So in analytics, on which date do you see this conversion? Yes?
On the 2nd.
Yes. Okay, I trust you guys to pass it behind there. Don't keep it. Let's keep it honest. So on Google Ads, and I'm sorry, you have to keep quiet now. On Google Ads, which date will the conversion be attributed to? Yes.
The ad date, October.
Yes. Okay. Let me see what I'll give you. I'll give you some team brainstorm notes for doing some great brainstorming with some Google logos on it. Okay, so why is this the case? In analytics, you will always see conversions on the date that they actually happened. So data is not changing retrospectively. So when you look at, right now, when you look at October's results, you can be sure that they will still look the same if you look at it 3 months from today. But in order for us to be able to see the effect of our activities that we do in Google Ads, it actually makes sense that in Google Ads, all conversions are attributed to the date when the ad click happened. Because from Google Ads point of view, that's the moment that influenced the conversion to happen. So this is the reason, for example, in this case, in Google Ads, the revenue from my purchase will be seen in October. But in analytics, the same revenue is reported in November. So when you look at your 2 reports, they will have different revenue numbers. It's the same revenue, just put on different dates. Okay, and besides the difference in like date-wise, when will the conversion be attributed? There's also some other differences that I want to go through. So doing a little digression from the problems, we have some topics marked with a star. So these are not problems. These are like things to understand in order to be able to move forward with next problems and their solutions. So first option, when you are using Google Ads, you are importing goals from Google Analytics. So set up your tracking in Google Analytics, and then you import that data to Google Ads. That's often the case for very many advertisers. Can you raise your hand if you know that you are doing this in your Google Ads account? Okay, a few. You're very shy with the hands. Okay, I'm gonna get you pumped up soon. So let's try to. It's making an awful noise. So in order to do this, we first need to understand Google Analytics attribution in the first place. Again, let's say that we have a buyer journey that looks like this. Now we already have, we are considering different channels. So it's very often the case that I do, for example, I have the first touch point with your website through an organic listing. I do a Google search, I see you in the organic results, you've done good SEO work, I click on it, I land on your website. But I don't buy. I leave, I think about it. Customers are really annoying like that these days. Maybe the next day or a few days later, I search again. I see your search ad, I click on it, I come to your website. Again, I see your display ad, I click, I come. I come directly because now I already remember your website name, URL, domain. Then maybe I sign up to the newsletter, you send me something, I come through the newsletter. Then I come through a Facebook referral, and then I come directly again, and then I purchase. So, time to earn some prizes again. Who can tell me which channel gets the credit for the conversion if you are using Google Analytics tracking? Yes, hand down. Facebook, very good. Can you also tell me why?
Because it's a non-direct last click attribution.
Exactly, exactly. I think that answer, brave answer, deserves a scam pad with some things to draw shapes with. So if you have a brainstorming session coming for designing some visuals or ads, you can scribble them down in that pad. So that is exactly correct. In Google Analytics, attribution is always last non-direct click. Sinking in. Second example. We have a little bit of a different buyer journey now. Maybe let's say this wasn't me. Let's say this was Marek. This is how he ended up buying from your website or becoming a subscribing client to your subscription product. In this case, which channel gets the credit in Google Analytics if you're using Google Analytics tracking?
Google Ads.
Yes, very good. Send you some Google mints. This is not a hint that you need them. Just had them. Okay, so very correct. Again, last non-direct click, Google Ads. So only after Google Analytics has decided with its last non-direct click attribution that Google Ads was the converting channel, only then will the data move to Google Ads because you are importing goals from Google Analytics into Google Ads. And only then, once the data makes its way to Google Ads, it will be the conversion and revenue credit will be divided between the different Google Ads touchpoints because we had two. Okay? And that division, how much credit to give, where's the pointer? This one. And how much credit to give this one is decided based on the attribution model you're using in Google Ads. So in Google Ads, you have the option to decide if you want to attribute to last click, first click. We'll check those in a second. Now, the first example we had, in this case, because Google Analytics saw that the converting channel was Facebook, even though Google Ads was a part of the journey, it will not get any data into Google Ads about assisting this conversion. Okay? Clear? Yes, very good. Some very shy nods. So, if you are using Google Analytics, importing goals from Google Analytics into Google Ads, and you still want to see the total effect of different channels. Because you don't only want to consider that if I had a journey of 20 touch points, I only think the last one mattered. Maybe the first one was important, maybe the fifth one was important. You want to understand the total effect. So you can do that in one Google Analytics report, which can be found like this. And I have filtered out all the journeys that included at least one Google Ads touchpoint. I'll show you how in a second. Why is this important? Because, for example, in these rows marked with the arrows, even though Google Ads was there, in the standard reports that you normally look at, acquisition, behavior, and conversions. Yes? Yeah, okay. My brain is fried from all this preparation for this event. Not much sleep. Anyway, acquisition, behavior, and conversions reports. In there, you will see that organic got the credit. But on the third and sixth line, Google Ads was the one that initiated the process. So it is important, because if you had not been available with your Google ad, the process, the journey would not have even started, and it's likely that the purchase would not have even happened in the first place. So that's why you want to analyze this total effect. And you can do that navigating to this report, and then you make sure first that at the top of the screen these settings are correct. You have chosen one, or however many conversions you want to analyze. By default, all your conversion types are included there, but it's likely that you want to analyze your main conversion. That is the purchase or whatever action that is as close as possible to the paying customer measurement. So you choose the conversions you want to analyze. You'd likely want to look at all path lengths, not only ones that are longer than 3 touch points. But you can choose. And then you set a realistic, reasonable conversion window that makes sense for your business. So you can ask yourself this: if a click happened 80 days ago and I make a purchase today, did that 80-day ago click realistically influence my decision? If you have a business with a very long decision-making process, then that's totally fine. You can set this to the maximum available look-back window, which is 90 days. If this is not the case for your business, maybe it's more relevant to look at a shorter period. What is the normal journey or decision-making process length for your business type? And then, extra step, it's not easy getting this data out of Google Analytics. You need to add a filter. So you filter out which channel you want to analyze. So I have used the Google CPC and Google Display filter because I want to see the total effect that Google Ads had. You can also do the same for Facebook. See how Facebook is, what is your naming convention, the source and medium, and include them all, and then see what is Facebook's total effect. Surely there will be some overlap, but that's natural because we know that people very often have journeys that have many, many touch points across different channels and even across different devices. Unfortunately, you cannot see devices info, cross-device info here in Analytics. But for that, you can use Google Ads conversion tracking, which will include cross-device activity for you. So we covered Google Analytics tracking, how the attribution works. Conversions are attributed to the date of the conversion, and they are attributed to the last non-direct click. But you can find the total effect data if you want to, like seen on the previous slide. Now, if you decide that you want to analyze, you want to see the total effect of Google Ads across the entire buyer journey, for example, you want to see when it was the initiator of the journey, then you should try and test using Google Ads conversion tracking. Because for Google Ads tracking, it will have data across all Google Ads touchpoints, even if they weren't towards the end of the journey. For example, if we have a buyer journey that looks like this, we have 2 Google search touchpoints. And if using Google Ads tracking, you will see this conversion in Google Ads. And why is this also good? What we have seen this to be really useful for is when you're using smart bidding will have data about these first parts of the journey as well, the initiators of the buyer journey that start the researching process for users on your website. And it can bid towards those as well. So it becomes more growth oriented because you're not only focusing on the very, very last touch point. And if you're using smart bidding, the algorithm will have access to this data to make smarter bidding decisions across the entire buyer journey. And as said already several times before, Google Ads conversion tracking tracks cross-device actions as well. So I think this is what I wanted to say with this slide. Key thing to be aware of, that if you make the switch, you were importing goals from Google Analytics into Google Ads, but I have convinced you now, and you want to test Google Ads tracking, then you have to be aware that you will very likely see an increase in conversions. And it is likely not because you had a sudden uplift in performance. It is because you will start seeing data about the conversions where Google Ads was one of the first touch points. You did not see these before. So it's important to adjust your KPIs as well and the smart bidding targets as well. So if you were using Google Analytics, goal importing and your target CPA was, let's say, 20 euros before, but now you're using Google Ads conversion tracking, you will start seeing more conversions. It is necessary to adjust your KPIs as well accordingly. I cannot tell you the percentage that you have to do it. It depends on the business, how much you see an increase in the conversions. So we are a bit ahead of time. Yes, you have a question?
Yeah, regarding the last topic, although I agree that it's important to understand what role it plays, so having historical touchpoints covered, how do you solve the problem that now Facebook says that I did it, Google says I did it, Bing says I did it?
Yeah, I understand. So who didn't hear basically the problem of overlapping conversions. You see one conversion reported in Google Ads, in Facebook, in Bing, because everyone wants to show that their channel is doing the best. They want to show the total effect. My personal opinion is that you kind of have to accept this because user journeys are across different channels. And it makes sense that to understand your total revenue, you cannot just add together the numbers you see in Facebook and ads and Bing. In my opinion, it's okay to see an overlap because the effect of these channels is also overlapping. I think this is something you can discuss with Andres, for example, who loves discussions like this. You had a follow-up question?
Yeah, from the ROI perspective, if you add up, everyone says I got it for 10%, but if you add them up, it's actually 40% of the revenue. But it's an example, a simplified example.
Andres wants to have a word.
That's why you have to adjust the KPIs. And
Yeah.
That's why you have to be there. And usually we are adjusting the KPIs for lower benchmarks. So if the ROI in analytics tracking was, let's say, a ROAS level of 1000%, then probably when switching to Google Ads tracking, then you want to adjust this to 1200, so it doesn't take the effect of both channels into that, but can't say what is the correct numbers, where the marketer's brain power needs to come in and then just adjust the KPIs accordingly.
Yeah, very good explanation. I would send you something, but we're keeping it for people outside the Holini team. So yeah, good explanation. So yeah, that's the whole adjusting KPIs because you make a fundamental switch how conversions are being tracked. So now you have to set more strict targets as well accordingly. And this is just good news for all of us. We won't be replaced by machines anytime soon yet. We're still needed in the marketing process. So as I said earlier, as well, feel free to pop up hands if you have questions. We are a few minutes ahead of time, so I would cover one more problem before we take the coffee break, because we have a lot to cover after as well, and then we have more free time, and I don't have to start speaking super fast. So quickly going past this slide, another issue we see very often, clients tell us when we have the initial meetings, only brand campaigns work for us. They're the only ones with acceptable results. No other campaigns are really performing for us profitably. So similar explanation following here. And just a clarification, by brand campaigns, I mean if you are bidding on your own brand keyword. So we are Holini, and we are showing ads when someone searches for Holini. It's a huge discussion of why to do this. If someone wants to talk about it, let's do it on the coffee break. First of all, the main thing that you should do here is look beyond last click attribution, because it is a very common scenario that someone, for example, let's say you're bidding on your competitor's keywords, being clever. You're bidding on your competitor. You have very nice ad copy. The person thinks like, oh, okay, this sounds like a good option. I'll click and see what's out there. You get them on your website, and then again, they leave to do some thinking and processing. And then maybe a day later, 2 days, few days later, they search for your brand, because in the meantime, they decided that they want to purchase from you, subscribe to your subscription product or service. So if you're using last click attribution in Google Ads, you will see this conversion under the brand campaign. But it's, again, like pretty obvious. I hope we're all agreed that the top competitor's campaign actually had a huge effect. It brought the person to you in the first place. So if they had not found you via the competitor campaign, they would not even have searched for your brand and would not have even converted at all. So it's important to acknowledge these earlier touch points. We've been talking about this for like 15 minutes, still emphasizing it. It is really important. And you can do so by using attribution models in Google Ads. And those define how, in this situation, is the conversion divided between these two campaigns. By default, since I don't know if they've changed it, but it's been for ages that the default attribution model is last click. We always change it anyway, so I don't know if that's what they suggest you to start out with. But Google also says to move away from last click. So this is not only a suggestion from me and my team. So these are the available attribution models. I'm pretty sure most of you have seen them. You're familiar with it. What these little pillars, columns, boxes define is which touch point gets how much attribution, how much credit for the conversion. So for example, if we're using last click, like I'm sure at least some of you in this audience are, so quickly check your accounts after today and make sure if it makes sense to change this. In some cases, it might be relevant. I'm not saying it's black and white ever, but do consider it. In this case, even if we had 4 touch points, only the last one will get all of the conversion. If we're using linear, then all 4 touch points will get 0.25 conversions and exactly 25% of the, oops, this ran wild, this revenue. If you're using first click, then only the first touch point gets all of the credit. So last click and first click are kind of the extremes of the spectrum. If it is recommended to prefer data-driven, which makes decisions based on actual data from your account to determine the effect and influence of each touch point. But there are limitations. So you do need, just quickly checking this, 15,000 clicks and 600 conversions in the last 30 days. So that's quite a lot. You might not have that straight away. So the solution there would be to consider one of these ones that aren't as extreme, but they still divide the conversion in a way that is more fair to all touch points. So you don't see just all conversions under your brand campaign. That doesn't really give you much information about what to do next. And again, coming back to the same topic, I'll finish this topic after the coffee break. I won't probably mention it too much. But basically, analyze the total effect of Google Ads. So again, Google Ads conversion tracking, a sensible attribution model, and top conversion paths reports, the one I showed you earlier. So I think this is a suitable time to make the coffee break. This is the problem we will be looking at after the break and several more. So I hope to see you back here at 45 past 3, so a quarter to 4. Okay. Let's try and find our places and see what other topics we have left for today. So the first part was a little bit more like setup, and we had the conversion tracking and attribution part. In the second part, we have a little bit more actual optimization and analysis, the stuff you do in Google Ads on a daily basis. So if someone is feeling hot temperature-wise, then raise your hand and let us know. We can open the door. We can't, unfortunately, regulate the ventilation, so it was a little bit stuffy in here earlier. But let us know and we'll make sure you don't faint in your seat. No one wants that. So, do we have people here? Everyone? Okay, good. So we can continue. Let's see if this is on. We talked about these things. And we promised to continue with this topic. It's kind of same, but different than the previous one we discussed regarding only brand campaigns work for us. Now, some people have the issue that only search campaigns work for them. So this could also have several explanations and solutions, and let's just go through them, see what could be done or what could be analyzed maybe a little bit differently. And also expansion issues if you want to expand but don't really know how to stay profitable. So first thing, I want to know how many of you use smart bidding. So target CPA, target ROAS, some of those. Yeah, okay, good. Okay, good. I was hoping to see more hands. We'll see if I would ask you in a week, what would the answer be then? But I'm assuming you know what smart bidding is. So I'm not going to start explaining what is target CPA, what is target ROAS, target return on ad spend. One thing that could be limiting the performance of, let's say, your display or YouTube or app campaigns is the fact that you have set it to conservative targets. So let's say that your smart bidding, your target CPA search campaign is working well at a level of 25 euros as a CPA. And now you want to launch a display campaign. And you see, okay, I'm going to set the target to be 25 euros as well. Well, there are different types of display campaigns and different goals you set for these campaigns, but it is usually the case that display is operating at a bit higher level in the funnel. So let's look. What I mean is that when this is like the kind of the buyer journey towards eventually converting down here, then this is mostly what display does. Again, depending on the actual goals that you set, but general rule. So creating awareness and a little bit of interest as well. So naturally, when search campaigns are doing their thing down here, it is easier for them to convert people because they have already decided, they are already searching for whatever your product or service is. So the targets need to be different for display as well, the goals that you set it. Because if you set too conservative goals, what happens is, even though you may have a €100 daily budget for a display campaign, you won't see any traffic coming even, because the target is just too constraining. So, coming back to goals for different campaign types. So, as saying, You might be lucky. Display campaigns might work at the same CPA or ROAS level, but it's highly likely that it needs a little bit looser targets because it is operating at a higher level of the funnel. And that is because, I wanted to explain what you see if you are too conservative with your smart bidding targets. So it's very likely that in your Google Ads reports, in these columns, you will see that your impression share is very low and you are very strongly affected by rank. So you're losing impression share due to rank. And you won't be getting even any volumes, so there's no conversions as well. Making your targets a little bit higher, a little bit looser, saying that, okay, my search is performing at 25 euros. Let's say I accept that from display because it starts from higher up in the funnel. I am willing to pay 45 euros. So if making the target higher, you should be able to see more volume coming in, and smart bidding starts gathering data and it can start optimizing towards reaching this target eventually. And it's often the case with display, for example, that people don't even click on your ad, which in a sense is good because you don't then pay for it. If you're like paying per click, which is the whole concept pretty much of PPC, pay-per-click advertising. So people might see your ad, they don't even click on it, but then they do convert. Who knows how to look at this data? Where is this data hiding? You can't answer, you know, I know. This is hiding itself in the view-through conversions. So what this means is that the person viewed the ad, they saw it, they did not interact with it, they did not click it, but then later within the view-through window that you set, they went to your site and completed the conversion. So you can decide if you want to accept these view-through effects from 1 day, 7 days. It's up to you. And you can see how display is, in a sense, assisting by being visible in these view-through conversion columns. So moving on. Now talking about expansion. One option, if search campaigns are working well for you, but you want to increase volumes, but you're just not getting it from search anymore. Let's say you've maximized the market capacity. I hope it's the right word. So you could try custom intent audiences. Who knows what custom intent audiences are? Okay, quite a lot of you know, some of you don't. Quickly, custom intent audiences are created by you, the person managing the account, based on the current interests of users, what they are actively researching and wanting to buy. They're showing intent for buying these products. So it's pretty much like in-market audiences, only you can custom make them based on the keywords that you input into this audience. And what I do want to emphasize, though, which is not a very widely known fact, is that custom intent audiences work a little bit differently in Gmail and YouTube versus display. So in Gmail and YouTube, with custom intent audiences, you can target the people that searched for those keywords that you input into this audience. So they searched it on Google Ads. They might not have clicked on your ad at all. They might not have reached your website even through an organic listing. They maybe clicked on a competitor ad. But you can target your Gmail and YouTube ads to them. So you do not capture this relevant search on search with a search ad. You can capture it later with Gmail or YouTube. And because you created this audience yourself based on keywords that are relevant to you, your business, it might be really niche. You don't have an in-market audience created by Google that is relevant enough for you. So you can create it custom. So, yes, key thing to remember, in Gmail and YouTube, you're targeting the people that searched these keywords. However, on display, similar, same, but different. You are targeting people that go under the theme that you create with your keywords. So you can input the same keywords, but you're not per se targeting the people that searched them on Google search exactly. But Google takes these keywords, creates a theme out of it, and then targets people that are looking for something within this theme. So depending on how well Google understands these keywords, the theme can be more precise or more broad. And also with display, quick side note, not really got anything to do with custom intent audiences. We recently had a painful experience. Make sure to eliminate bots with reCAPTCHA. There's so many of them. They're really clever. They're already filling out forms that you count as conversions. So you think, oh, it converted on my site, so it's a human. No, it may well be a bot. So use reCAPTCHA to make display traffic more high quality. You don't have to worry about that in Gmail and YouTube because those are Google's own products, platforms, and it's not possible for a bot to really earn money from a click on Gmail because all that click revenue goes to Google itself. So we have used these custom audiences for many accounts where we just see that the in-market or affinity audiences that are available just aren't kind of relevant enough, and we want to be more cautious. We don't want to have a very broad display targeting, and it's worked well. We create the targeting ourselves and make it as precise as possible. I wanted to promote a blog article by me on this topic, but it's not out yet, so I forgot about that. It will be on our blog soon after this Startup Week Madness is over, so you can check it out there. It will be about custom audiences. So, and another idea, last but not least, I'd like to suggest considering DSA campaigns. Who knows what DSA campaigns are? Yes, very nice. Holini knows. Good. Okay, dynamic search ads. So it's very common for e-commerce because it's often not possible to input all possible product names that you have on your site if you're selling like 60,000 products. It's possible, but not reasonable. So what you can do to capture all these specific product name searches that maybe already include the product ID, these are very relevant searches because the person exactly knows what they want to search. You can use a DSA campaign, and it can crawl your website, understand what you have available there, and if I search for let's use an e-commerce example. I know some of you are startups, but there are some e-commerce people here, and I think it's just easier to understand for now. I am searching for, let's come up with a model name. Blue Couch Tropic ID 78912. So I found somewhere that I like this blue couch called Tropic for some reason. With the specific ID, and maybe now I'm just researching to find the cheapest price, and I want to find this product in other websites as well. So I search for this exact product name and ID. Now Google understands that on your website you have this product available, so it shows a dynamic ad with the headline custom defined. I have the example here. So the headline is dynamically generated based on the page that Google found this relevant product from, or the response to this search, and also where the person is directed, the final URL. So they are directed directly to this product page. Now, quite easy for e-commerce. When we're talking about startups, how can you leverage this? Startups often use landing pages that are created around a specific theme. So going back to this slide, there's different ways you can tell Google how broadly I will allow you to crawl my site, because if I just input my entire site, it's highly likely that there's going to be some irrelevant stuff as well. But let's say I worked hard, I created a really nice relevant landing page. I will input only this landing page URL, And if Google understands the page nicely, it's structured well, according to best practices, it has enough text content, then it will be able to match people's relevant searches to my landing page and show them a dynamic ad. So, might not work for these cases because it is, I think, mainly meant for e-commerce, but it might. We have seen it work. And shameless little plug here, I do have an article about DSA, dynamic search ads, available. So if this is interesting, all the details are on our blog. And there's even a cool real life example how we used it with a client and made it work really well for us. So moving on, next topic. I would like to direct. Yeah.
I have one question about those DSAs. I have used it like once, but it's kind of shaky for me because I can't see exactly what was the ad, the text, or what was the ad about, or what did they display. So is there a way to see?
Yes, there is a report in Google Ads where it shows you which headline and which final URL was shown for which search. So if you see there that it doesn't really match and it's not working well, then kind of review your setup and if you can use DSA, and if you can see like there's very many searches of one specific search, but DSA is not doing too good of a job matching headlines and landing pages, then you can add this as a regular keyword already and create the ad copy like custom, however you'd like it. It's just often a nice and quick way to kind of start, get some volume going while you're doing the more intricate setup of the actual keyword campaigns. So do read my article, lots of cool stuff there. So many cool stuff to discuss here, so moving on quickly. But yeah, not discouraging you to ask questions. In fact, bravery is rewarded, so some brainstorm notepad for you. Okay, so another kind of can be very fundamental problem causing all sorts of other problems is having the wrong KPIs. So this is important. I saw you when you filled out those registration forms, and several ones of you said in the form, I asked you what's the main challenge you have with digital marketing. And you said, I want to get my CPCs lower. So I'm not mad at you. I'm just saying, please listen. So if we think about clicks, CPCs, and even lead volume, let's look at clicks and CPCs first. Are they really relevant to your business? When you think about your actual business and the final goals that the CFO tells you that we need to achieve, or CEO or whoever does that for you? Probably not. There are cases, of course, where you have specific goals and your goal is to maximize visibility and just get traffic to your website. There are cases, but I am confident that in a vast majority, this is not it. So it is very likely, very often, that users with better conversion rate cost more to get to your website. So why would you want to get a lot of users for very cheap CPCs, cost per clicks, but none of them convert? What's the use there? Literally nothing. So if your goal is to get conversions, do not look at CPCs. It is something to like additionally look at as a supportive KPI. In some cases, you can identify some issues and uncover some optimization possibilities, but as a main KPI, no. I am willing to argue with you for however long it takes after the presentation in the cafe area, if you'd like. So, and I even have written lead volume. So in a lot of the cases, you have leads coming in, but then they later become paying customers. And not all of them become paying customers. So a lead doesn't even equal money for your business. So the same kind of principle here. You have to be cautious, because if you set the only goal to Google Ads to maximize leads, and that's the only data you're sending it, you're tracking leads and saying, okay, bring me as many leads as you can with 10 euros per lead, then what might happen is you'll end up getting more bad quality leads, and your leads might increase, but your actual paying customer numbers might decrease. So if possible at all, try to feed, as Audrey said, the closest data to the actual money. So as close as possible to the paying customer. So there's many options to do this. If it sounds interesting for you, try to catch Tavi before he goes home. He could maybe tell you about offline conversion tracking, how to send this data about paying customers back into Google Ads or Analytics. So what should you be focusing on? What makes sense is first, Audrus explained this quite detailed at the end of his presentation, so I won't go into too much details here because I'm counting on you that you listen to him. So first, calculating the profitability level, or basically the acceptable sum that can be invested in bringing in each conversion. So whether it is a purchase or a lead. So you have to know what is the maximum level that is still profitable for you. When we start out with a client, I can sometimes even be a little bit annoying looking at one client in the room I have right now, really trying to squeeze the number out, like what is acceptable for you? Because I might think that 60 euros is good, but maybe your CEO is like, what? It needs to be 10. But if you don't tell me that, if you have not calculated that, then how do I know? I'm really happy optimizing towards 60. So trying your hardest to calculate what is the level of the CPA that is still profitable you for the actual end business goals. It can be tricky, but I think in most cases it can be done. So, and Audrus also discussed when you're calculating this profitability or trying to understand it, or how much you're willing to pay per each customer, you do need to take into account lifetime value. So if you have an option of people doing repeat purchases, or they are subscribing to your product and they are bringing you revenue for 3-5 years to come, then it is important to take that into account when determining how much you're willing to invest in the first place to get them on board. So taking all this into account and trying to understand the actual sum that you are willing to invest per every paying customer or lead. So, yeah, and as I already said, rushed a bit earlier, not all leads are paying customers. So try to track the actions that are happening after getting the lead in as well. So becoming a paying customer in most of your cases. So, next thing. Very often we hear people saying that we don't have many conversions, so I can't use smart bidding. I feel you. Relevant, fair problem. Now, what to think about here? If you do not have enough conversions for smart bidding to work, then are you really smarter when you're bidding manually? Because if you do not have enough conversions, then how are you deciding which bids to increase or decrease manually as well? So I hope your answer is, or I'm guessing your answer is in many cases that you're looking at other data you have available. So even if you don't have these purchases, paying customers, you move a little bit the funnel. You start looking at leads. And if you don't have enough leads, you look at the previous steps in the funnel that the user takes. So anything you can look at besides not just visitors to website already gives you some indication if the user is at least a little bit interested. So even if you don't have enough leads coming in, you're struggling to get them, you can maybe define that people who reached your pricing page and your contact us page, so they were already showing some intent, you could even optimize towards those. Okay, it's more data than just clicks. Yes, question? Smart goal. That's the thing that's like defined by Google itself based on whatever it understands on your website, right? Well, I don't use it because we have a great analytics guy who creates our goals as we need them. So I cannot answer you, unfortunately, there. Maybe Taavi can help you. 1 second. Let's make you.
Yeah,
Here.
smart goal is great, but it's still in analytics, and Liis always described the problem with analytics tracking and importing stuff from analytics to Google Ads. So basically, yeah, I think it's something that we can set up in analytics and use it, but I still prefer using Google Ads tracking, and sometimes we also use engagement. We set up specific engagement stuff as well to optimize. Yep.
So engagement, like they're looking at pricing or yeah, but you have to be careful with those metrics as well. I know Taavi would like to discuss that longer, but basically bounce rate, session duration, pages per session, you have to be careful when looking at those metrics because, for example, let's take the example of session duration. I land on your website, on your landing page that has a lot of text. And I read this landing page for 20 minutes. But I don't click anywhere else. I don't move forward. So I read for 20 minutes. I consumed a lot of information. But then I went away to do my deciding process that we all do to later come back and convert, hopefully. So unless I make any further clicks on the website, my session duration will be 0. Even though I was reading on the site for 20 minutes. Because session duration is calculated as the time between 2 pages, basically. And if there was no second page, the time between 2 pages was 0. So be careful when analyzing those. But it is something, at least, yes. Events, yes, of course, exactly. That's what Taavi meant. So creating events on your website, if you have a landing page that has a really nice video on it, if a person watched the video, you can track that. That already gives an indication they are a little bit warmer leads than just random visitors. So yeah, if you're struggling with the actual macro conversions, the conversions that align with your business goal, try and go up in the funnel to look at these things that happen before the conversion, the final conversion. Okay, so you can optimize towards those. My point on this slide here and the question is if you do not have enough final macro conversions, then manually as well, you would start looking at the steps that happen before that. So you could do the same thing. You could just feed these steps to smart bidding and have it do the work for you. You do not have to have smart bidding optimized towards the final conversion if you know you're not getting any. You can say that, okay, optimize towards leads. Not getting any leads, okay, what's the previous step that users take? Maybe they start filling out a form to become a lead, but they don't finish. You could optimize towards the starting to fill out the form. So you're trying to get as many people to at least start filling out your form. If you don't get that, move 1 step higher as well. It's not as good as looking at the final conversions, of course, but if you don't have that, you have to come up with something. So that's the key point here. Otherwise, you would do it all manually. It's really tricky. You can't do auction time bidding, take into account all these signals that Google collects about us and our relevancy from YouTube, search, maps, all these other platforms as well that Audio showed on the slide earlier. So why go through all the hassle when you can just input the correct, most relevant data to smart bidding and have it do the work for you? Worth testing, at least. I cannot say with 100% certainty that this will bring you the hockey stick growth that he showed on his slide 34 times, I believe it was. But it is likely that it will help you, because are we really smarter than Google's algorithms with these decisions? Maybe you're a very confident person. So, as I said, you can help smart bidding. So one option is moving the action that you're optimizing towards little bit higher. Another option is feeding it extra information. So when you set up a campaign and you know from the start that some people, for example, are definitely not relevant for you. For some reason, your product or service is just not relevant for some groups of people. Exclude them. Why do you want to have smart bidding waste its time on learning this? It will learn this eventually, but it will take time, especially if you have very little data in your account. So exclude these straight away so smart bidding can move on to the next things it needs to learn to make maximum efficient decisions about who to target and how aggressively. So, and one thing also to remember, apply your knowledge to smart bidding. What I mean here is also adding remarketing audiences and similar to remarketing audiences as observational audiences to your Google Ads campaigns. So what I mean here is that smart bidding has access to all this in-market and custom affinity data that we talked about earlier. So what are my interests? What am I currently actively researching? Google has that, but it doesn't have the data about me, how I have previously interacted with your website. Have I ever visited? Have I ever converted before? So you can create all sorts of different audiences. You can have all visitors, all converters. You can have, for example, people that visited at least 3 pages on my website, people that became a newsletter subscriber, people that filled out a contact us form. So again, any signals you can feed Google to give it a better understanding of how relevant each user is. So by default, Google does not have access to these remarketing signals. It did for some while, but then I don't know what the issue was, their GDPR or whatever. Now, again, you have to add these audiences yourself to campaigns. And observational, meaning, I don't have it here, I have it somewhere else. So you just go into the campaign level and you add audiences, for example, in search. And you don't make any bid adjustments. You don't say that I want to bid more on previous visitors. You just add the audiences there for Google to observe. So it has access to this data and it can use this data to make better smart bidding decisions. And in addition to remarketing, as I said earlier, also similar to remarketing audiences. So the similar audiences in Facebook, I believe they're called lookalikes. This is often the familiar term for people. These similar audiences also, you can add these as observational and Google will have extra data to make smarter decisions. And another key point here, this we covered actually earlier, was going up the funnel. So optimizing towards the previous interaction, like you would do manually if you don't have enough data about the final conversion. So one interesting thing to know about smart bidding as well is that if you're implementing smart bidding on a small campaign that doesn't have much data on its own, but you have other campaigns in your account, smart bidding algorithms have access to data from your other campaigns as well. So it is not only trying to make decisions based on what it has on this small campaigns level. It can access the data from your other campaigns as well. So if you have some bigger, good performing campaigns available in your account, it doesn't matter really how you structure your campaigns, Google will still have access to them. So, this is a big one. When we rehearsed this a few nights ago, then okay. So if you have been dozing off a little bit, it's been a long event already. This is the moment I need your focus because otherwise the following slides will be really, really confusing. So I'm gonna talk slow. Raise your hand if it gets like, I cannot understand. Okay, we can do this. Not using portfolio bid strategies. Do we know what portfolio bid strategies are? Raise your hand if yes. You can be honest, yeah, okay. Basically, it's applying the bid strategy you choose. So let it be target CPA for this example. You're applying it not only to one campaign, but you're applying it to, let's say, 2 campaigns you have in your account. So you can apply it to 5, 10, I don't know if there is a max limit. I have not reached it. I don't think there is. So you can apply it to multiple campaigns. So the bidding will happen across campaigns and you set one goal. So I say, for example, I have these 2 campaigns. I have competitor keywords campaign and I have general keywords campaign. Often the case for some SaaS businesses, for example. You're trying to capture people looking for similar stuff to you, and you're trying to capture people searching for just generic terms that match your business. And both of their goal we have calculated nicely and determined that the acceptable CPA level for us is 17 euros. Okay, with me so far? Right now, for the sake of this example and explaining why portfolio bid strategies are extra important, let's say that you are not using portfolio bid strategies now. So you are using individual bidding for the competitor campaign and for the general campaign. It just so happens that the goal for those 2 is the same because you know you're willing to pay 17 euros per lead coming in. So under both of these campaigns, we have several different conversions available. We have some conversions available for 15 euros. And we have some conversions also available that only cost us 5 euros and some that cost us 10 euros. And there's also some that cost more because how target CPA works is that it tries to average out the actual CPA. So it will not bring you every conversion for 17 euros. It will bring you conversions for different prices so that they average out in the conversion window timeframe. So with me so far, it makes sense that if we look at, for example, the competitor campaign, for some conversions we pay 5 euros. Some people are really easy to convert. They've been researching for a long time, for example, so it's easy to get them. But other people cost us more, 30 euros, which is higher than our target, but we're willing to pay it because it averages out to 17, which is acceptable for us, let's say, okay? And on the second campaign, the situation is a bit different, but it still averages out to 17 for us. And it's performing nicely. It's bringing us conversions with 17 euros in average. So what we need to notice here, that in this campaign, to reach this average, we're also getting some pretty expensive conversions. So 50 is already quite a lot higher than 17 for us, for example. So, and in reality, in the market, there are also some very expensive conversions available that we are not capturing with these campaigns. They're just there because we are not capturing everyone with a target CPA of 17. If we made our target maybe 30, maybe then we would capture them as well. But now our target is 17, and we are capturing in this campaign all these conversions, and in this campaign all these conversions. This is just what's available in the market additionally. So what we need to see here is in this campaign, to average out to 17, we are basically declining conversions that cost us 40 and 50 euros. Okay? Because for this targeting, for these competitor keywords, we just cannot accept them, otherwise our average would go up on the campaign level. In this campaign, however, we are accepting 40 and 50 euro conversions because it still nicely averages out for us to be 17. Now, sinking in, is this really ideal? Do we want to say to Google that, okay, yeah, sure, pay 50 and 40 euros in this campaign for some, but don't even take these 40 euro ones here? Why are we paying 50 euros here when we could actually be directing our budget to getting these 40 euro conversions first. You with me? Okay, good. So the solution, eyes on the screen, what happens now? Boom. This is what happens when we use a portfolio bid strategy. So as I described earlier, you merge these two campaigns into one in the bidding sense. So you have one unified target that is still 17 euros. But to average out 17 in these two campaigns, what we can see happened is, previous slide, the 40 euro conversion that previously was out of the mix for us is now included here. And the 50 euro conversion that used to be here in the mix is now out of the game. So basically, we are maximizing getting the cheapest available conversions first. Because what is available with one campaign's targeting is not the same as another campaign's targeting. Okay? Yes, question.
How important would be customer intent here? Can you merge under the same bid strategy, like for example, e-commerce? Like if you have a campaign for TVs, let's say, and another one for garden equipment.
That depends if your profit margins for TVs and garden equipment is the same. If it's the same, then ultimately, for you as a business, does it matter where your revenue comes from, as long as you reach your profitability goals? So in your case, return on ad spend goals. This works the same for return on ad spend. So it does not matter if people buy 100 cheaper garden equipments or they buy one more expensive, was it TVs you said? So it doesn't really matter for you as long as you get the profit that you want to get. Okay? If the profitability levels are different there, then you have to look at the return on ad spend goals as well differently. But ultimately, the idea is, does it really matter where your conversions come from as long as they're profitable? Yes.
So this would work only for the same type of campaigns, like search and search campaigns. If you have like search campaign and display campaign, display would have like a different CPA to optimize for.
Anders wants to say something.
It all depends on your goals. So if you have the same, say, target ROAS or target CPA, then I'm unifying all of the campaigns in one target ROAS if I have one target ROAS. Of course, it depends if you know that, okay, lifetime value in one is like something else than in the other, but at that case, I usually have different ROAS or CPA levels as well. Like if my, say, lifetime value is better in search than in display, then I might also have that I have a lower target CPA in display, higher in search, and then I can't use one portfolio piece because I have different target CPA levels. You can only use this if you have one CPA level. So it really depends, but my suggestion would be if the conversion or the goal is as valuable or in different campaigns or channels, I would merge as much as possible in one portfolio piece strategy if it is possible.
Yeah. So depending on goals and how they work for you, if they're the same, then again, does it matter if the purchase comes from display or search in the end? If it doesn't, why separate them? And portfolio bid strategies technically work across different campaign types. Yes. Send it back to Andres. He wants to say something else. This is our meetings every Friday when we discuss these types of things. Lots of discussion.
Maybe one obstacle there you can have is that if, for example, you have target CPA level of 17 and you think that all of these leads are worth 17, but you are measuring something else, and then in the end you are seeing like, oh, from this campaign I got the garbage, and this from that other campaign I got a good lead qualities, then in the end you're still like understanding, okay, one campaign is worse than another, which means then probably you don't want to really beat the same 17 as well. So if on some other campaigns you are at the moment bidding the same level, but you in your mind know that other campaign is garbage compared to other campaign, I wouldn't use it, because smart bidding will learn from that garbage data as well, and then apply this to your really well working campaign. So this is something tricky that you need to understand, that okay, all of these conversions are like purchases or paying customers, and at that point I don't really care on which kind of campaign it came from. But yeah, if you have like from lead to real customer different conversion rates, then probably you don't want to use portfolio bid strategy.
So again,
A simple example that you have like a brand search campaign and that's really cheap, and then
yeah, no. Do not use brand in the same portfolio as, for example, your general keywords, because you can shut that off. Yeah, thanks. Because brand performs so differently to these generic terms, in the sense that when a person is searching for your brand, they already know really precisely what they want, and we see really different CPA and ROAS levels for brand campaigns and general campaigns. So I have brand campaigns that are performing at 20,000% return on ad spend, while the generic keywords are at 600. So you do not want to merge those, definitely. So what came out from Andres's point as well, send or use as final data as possible. So if at all possible, use the data of the actual paying customer. Then you do not have to differentiate if you are getting good leads from search and bad leads from display. Because if they are paying customers then and they're equal to you, then it doesn't matter. But if you're using leads, what can happen is that basically Google understands that, okay, let's say that the lead quality in these campaigns would be different, and say that the competitor portion has really bad quality. They don't convert, they fill out the form and become a lead, but they don't actually become paying customers. But the general keywords perform really well. So if I merge them together, Google might see that, okay, to me, to Google, these are equal. And I am just trying to get leads. But it's easier for Google to bring in the competitor leads, because there's more and they're cheaper for Google. It's easier to achieve this goal. So it will start leaning towards bringing you these competitor leads and move away from the general ones, because you are telling to Google that they are equal to you. Okay? And if you do not send paying customer data to Google, it does not have access to this. It cannot differentiate which ones are good quality and which ones are bad quality. Okay, so that's why it's important to track the as final conversion as possible. So you don't start maximizing leads, but you're bringing in bad leads. So you're actually losing paying customers. I think we need to write a blog article on this one as well. Have not started yet, so it will take some time to get it out there. Anyway, any other questions? So what ultimately happens is we are able to kind of have more cheaper conversions, and ultimately our average can be potentially a little bit lower. So this is how you can maybe decrease it to first 16 euros and then maybe 15 euros. So that's why it's important. And you can get actually more on the same CPA level as well, even if you stay at 17, because you're now getting 40 euro conversions instead of 50 euros earlier. You can start getting more conversions for the same CPA. And one extra benefit to portfolio bid strategies that you do have to be careful with is adding maximum bid limits. So normally when you implement target CPA campaign, target CPA bidding, you cannot say that I do not want to pay above 20 euros a click no matter what. Google will just optimize the amounts that it bids, the CPCs, according to how likely it sees that someone is to convert. So if it sees that I am very likely to buy your product and I search for it, it might say that, okay, we are willing to pay 15 euros for this person's click because I know really highly likely that they will convert. And if my target is 17 euros, then getting a click for 15 euros that converts is still good, even though it sounds frightening, paying 15 euros for a click. So, but if you are sure that you do not want to go above some level, again, use portfolio bid strategies and add under the settings there, it's possible to add the maximum bid limit as well. Why you have to be careful with this is the maximum bid limit cannot be just the same CPC that used to be your average earlier, because that defeats the purpose of smart bidding, being able to bid more on people that are more likely to convert. That's the whole idea behind it, why it's smart. So you cannot add too conservative bids there. The smart bidding still needs room to be able to pay more. So something to think about. And now, who has felt this? Smart bidding is not working for us. We tried, but it's not working. Okay, so everyone else has tried and it's doing great. Hard to believe. Even we struggled at first. It was tricky. It took time to kind of start believing entirely. It is a common problem. So smart bidding is not working for us. What could be the issues? We need to understand that smart bidding is based on machine learning. And learning does not just happen like that for machines and for us, for no one. For machines, it happens a lot faster, but it still takes time. And what you do need to take into account is the learning period that is required for this machine learning. So as Audrius showed on one of his slides with the when they implemented smart bidding, how they were able to improve performance, but initially the CPA went really high. That's because the machine is learning, okay? Sometimes the decisions it makes during this learning process are pretty bad. Sometimes there's nothing too extreme. So the more data you have, the quicker it learns and the less fluctuations there are. If you have very little data, it's going to take time for it to learn and it will have more fluctuations as well. So allow, first of all, the conversion lag to pass and then some time for learning to happen based on the data that Google got and then evaluate results. So here's a visual representation from Google as well, basically describing the process roughly. So if you're trying to validate if smart bidding works for us, first of all, look at how things are going before implementing smart bidding. Don't implement smart bidding during a very unusual period, like, I don't know, Black Friday, or if there are some highly converting, very differently converting times, like seasonality for your business as well. Don't use that time because that's gonna, it's not like the typical stable data that the machine learning will be getting in the future as well. So look at how things are going before, then implement smart bidding, and then there's going to be a learning period, and you need to include the conversion lag time as well, because as I said earlier as well, some people, they take 10 days to convert. I click today, but it's normal for your business type, for the decision-making process to take around 10 days. So you cannot really evaluate the results of that click before these 10 days are over, right? Because Google Ads does not yet have data if this click converted or not. So take into account the learning period and the conversion window. And this calm Zen face there symbolizes that just don't panic. It's very often the case that you implement smart bidding and you see things going crazy, really bad, and in 2 days you switch back. It has not had any time to optimize. It has not had any time to learn. Maybe a lot of the conversions that would come from the clicks that happened in those 2 days have not even come yet. So just stay calm. And then compare performance once you have let all this time pass. If you have 500 conversions on a campaign level in 30 days, learning will be faster for you than if you have 15 conversions, naturally. So that is why you need to adjust the learning time based on how much conversions you have available. Usually it's at least like a couple weeks, a few weeks. So give it some time and then see how it's doing. And again, smart bidding is not working for us. We discussed these points earlier. Is there some way that you could help it? Can you feed it some extra information? Can you add your remarketing audiences so that smart bidding will have data about if this person has interacted with your business already before? How did they interact? Which goals did they complete? Which events did they complete already? So someone who has maybe completed 15 events or goals on your website is more relevant than someone who has only visited your site or has not visited at all. So feed it as much extra information as you can, help it. And also worth mentioning here, negative keywords as well. If you know that searches containing this specific keyword are not relevant for us, exclude this word. Add it into a shared negative keyword list and apply that to campaigns so that you can be sure that whenever a search contains this specific keyword, when selling products is often like used. When someone is searching for TV, like used TVs, but you're an e-commerce store selling new TVs, then probably you don't want to bid on these searches because the person will not buy from you. So you can put the word used into a negative keyword list. You can add negative keywords on ad group and campaign level as well, but for these keywords that are universally irrelevant for you, might as well add them in a list so you don't have to add it individually in every single ad group and campaign. So here we have an example of some observational audiences being added to a campaign. So we have selected that we want to add website visitors. And here we have created several audiences. Now, actually, you can see I have added 107 audiences to this one campaign. So quite a lot of extra data for smart bidding that it can use. For example, a person that visited in the last 540 days. Very broad, but at least gives some indication. Then we have defined the different purchase values. So some people buy really little from us, but some make really big purchases. They're also different of different value to us. So worth sending this data to Google as well. It will understand that people in this audience are bringing us more revenue, so it's easier for smart bidding to reach its goals. So it's going to be focusing more on these audiences, not putting its whole focus on these, only visitors. So add observational audiences, help smart bidding out. And here are shared negative keyword lists. So I have created 3 different ones that I use in one account, and they include a different number of keywords that are irrelevant for us, and they are added to different campaigns. I think here they're different because they're for different languages. Yeah, so that's why I have different negative keyword lists for 3 different languages that are used. Because one word that is irrelevant in Estonian might mean something relevant in another language. So be careful using a shared list across different languages. And again, realistic targets. If you're starting out with smart bidding and you say, oh, it would be really nice to get a lead in with, or a paying customer with €3, and Google says that only put in the CPA and I'll do it. And you have understood that, okay, I normally pay 30, but would be really nice to get €3 as my CPA. Not going to work. You might get really lucky and get something from there, but the general case scenario here is that you won't even be getting any volume because you are too conservative with your targets. So if you're normally getting leads in with €30, but now you say, okay, do 3 for me, then Google will understand that this is a really hard to reach goal. So it will not even pretty much bid on any searches. And if you normally maybe had 10,000 clicks in, let's say, a week, you might now have 30 if it is very, very unreachable goal for Google. So what normally is recommended to start with is at least the same CPA or return on ad spend level that you have been having so far, so that you know it's reachable, it's doable in the past 30 days, for example. So, and if Google is not able to invest your daily budget, you say that, okay, my daily budget is 100 euros, but you see that Google is only investing 15. But you want more volume, you want more traffic. But why Google is not able to invest all this extra money that you're putting on the table is because it's seeing that I cannot bring you more leads to reach this average of 3 euros CPA. So, yeah, and another recommendation that's really relevant actually is how your budget correlates to your target CPA. So for example, if your target CPA is 15 euros, it is very, very likely that it's not going to work, the smart bidding, if your daily budget is 15 euros or worse, 10 euros. It does not have room for natural fluctuations and testing and learning. So again, just not going to happen. It's a general recommendation to have your budget be at least 5 times your target CPA. Okay, there are options if you say that, well, I don't have that budget from my marketing budget available. There are things you could do. We'll see if we have time for that or need to do a follow-up event sometime soon when we recover from this one. So yeah, realistic targets is the key here. And let's see what we have. We have some other things listed as well that could cause you to think that smart bidding is not working for you. Let's go through them quickly. So different campaigns might have different goals, as we discussed earlier. So for example, search versus display. Display might be focused on getting awareness, like creating interest. So is it really like the best idea to tell to the displays bidding that, okay, I want you to reach the same goals as with search? Maybe it's not reachable. Maybe your whole display visual and messaging is built on brand awareness. So you cannot really expect people to come and buy, purchase, or become a paying subscribing customer. So a cool new feature to research in Google is conversion action sets. So what you basically can do now is you can define on a campaign or several campaigns level which conversions you want to optimize towards. So earlier you had the main conversion that was included in conversions column, and that was, let's say, our paying customers. Okay, and you could not say that, okay, with all campaigns I want to optimize towards paying customers, but with display, let's optimize towards people reaching our pricing page, because that's kind of more aligned with the current goal of our display campaign. But now you can do that. You can say that our display campaign's goal is to get people to check out our pricing page. But other campaigns are still optimizing towards getting paying customers. So check out conversion action sets. Yes, next one, improper targeting. We mentioned a few times, smart bidding is not a magic bullet. If your targeting is completely off, can it really bring you good stuff? So feed it extra information. We've talked about this earlier as well, and restrain it if needed with maximum bid limits in portfolio bid strategies and ad exclusions as well. So cool example that Andres gave me was if you are selling a subscription product that pretty much only chief marketing officers or CTOs or CEOs are buying. So what you can do, for example, is exclude people, what's the exact name here? People earning less than 80% of the market average. So it's possible, I don't know if this is in every market, but in some markets at least it's possible to target or exclude based on people's earnings, how much they earn. So you can assume that CMOs, CEOs have quite high earnings. So why not exclude all the people earning less than that? and focus on the high earning group, add some other relevant targeting there as well, and hopefully it can already improve your targeting and bring you more relevant traffic and leads. Yeah, this is especially important when you're starting out to give this the extra information. And mentioned quickly earlier before as well, if your product is simply not competitive or attractive or not needed in the market, then no artificial intelligence or manual bidding or smart bidding can save the day for you. So it's sometimes worth looking beyond Google Ads as well if stuff is not working for you. So I think we actually have to finish here. We do have 2 more things that would have been discussed, but we're cutting it off here. We are going to definitely have some events in the future and ideas for me for new blog articles now. So hopefully we can still get these ideas out to you somehow. So do we have any questions? There was quite a high pace still, but no, everything is clear? Ah, okay, one. One thing I mentioned previously earlier as well, business to business is tricky, especially when the searches are the same from regular people and businesses. One thing to start with is ad copy. Make sure that the ad copy already states that this is not for private people. You cannot say that in your, well, you can, but have not seen that yet. But put it out in your ad copy already so that you won't even get these clicks. So even if these people see this ad, you don't want their clicks and it's okay. So that's one thing. And yeah, then I would recommend going through all these available audience solutions, seeing what's relevant there. Can you use something? There are, one thing to understand, I probably have hundreds of audiences attached to me from Google. I am not only a dog lover or I am not only a shopaholic. I have 200 other stuff about me as well that Google knows. So maybe you can think that your ideal customer, what are the other things that they might be interested in? And then there are these audience reports available where you can see this exactly, like quite surprising information. For example, when in a loan business, the ideal audience is actively researching hotels. They want to travel, but it's a bit out of their reach, so they need a little bit of a loan. So a key insight for us there, maybe targeting people who are actively searching hotels, which seems like a really random idea at first, but now that it's based on data, we can try and test this. So trying to think how these other options there are can assist you. But B2B is tricky, I feel you. Anything else? Yes.
Yeah, question about competitive keywords versus broad keywords. I haven't checked the CPCs myself yet, compared them, but maybe you have some experience with it. A scenario where you have non-branded, high-quality score keywords that catch competitor search terms versus separate competitor keywords with low-quality scores, such as 3 out of 10 or so. Would it make sense to even have these low-quality competitor keywords if your broads are catching the search terms anyways?
Andres wants to maybe say something as well, so you can pass the mic. But it's always possible to add negatives between campaigns and ad groups. And I'm going to give the word to Andres. And after that, we're ending it in this room, but I'll be available out there for any questions. But let's listen to what Andres has to say for this.
Maybe you can come, because we have to really come
There's
to
a movie
me
starting here
after
soon.
that, and who is really interested in this topic can also get me there, and then I will explain it once, but we have to get this room freed. So come and get me. I will explain it.
One thing, check out this, leave your feedback, and I will send you my slides. Otherwise, I won't send them to you. So holini.com/feedback. Okay?
Yes, we promise we won't be doing any marketing because we already have your emails. So we're going to ask those emails again, but we're not going to market to you. So thank you very much, Liis. You can enjoy these candies with the camera guy at home. And I have my own agenda as well. So maybe if you're really interested, and we actually manage a couple of millions of euros of ad spend every year. So if you want to work with different clients, see different accounts, learn a lot about Google Ads, then check out the careers page on our website as well. And if you see a fit there, then why not contact us? Thank you very much.
It's so fun, I promise you. So thank you for coming.